So we will try to have the definition of approach and methods in English language teaching, and why there are more than one approaches and method. ELT means English language teaching. So we want to learn one language. For learning one language, why there are more than one methods? Why there are more than one approaches? One language we will learn, one method and approach is enough, isn't it? That is the general knowledge, GK. But there are many approaches and methods in English language teaching. Why? Why approaches and methods in English language teaching have changes through the times? Why? Actually, in our introductory class that held previous week, that we started with GTM, then the reform movement. That means researcher, linguist, they tried to change and tried to modify, tried to apply several approaches and methods. Our question of today, that is, why linguist and researcher tried to change the approach and methods in time. Okay. And traditionally, for many years, grammar translation method have been the much used method in English language teaching. We know that is at the time Latin language and the Greek civilization we have talked about, that they are the earliest civilization and they initiated their literature. They had the military power, they had the economic power, they had the cultural power, like Virgil, Cicero, Homer, they have this poet. And for this reason, people all from other civilization, they wanted to read their literature, that means the Latin literature. And in order to study Latin literature, a method is necessary. That means language teaching method or language learning method is necessary. And what are the methods? That is the grammar translation methods. So GTM, grammar translation method, is the long preserved traditional method in English language teaching. But next time, the classroom teaching in ELT changed a little bit. Why and what is the necessity? And in 1920 decades, determination of reading goals. How to read and what to read. Okay, GTM means grammar translation method. In this method, reading and writing necessary. But in 1920 decades, 1920 দশকে এসে আমরা দেখলাম যারা প্রশ্ন করলো যে আমরা পড়বো, আমাদের রিডিং ক্যাপাবিলিটি দরকার, কি পড়বো, কিভাবে পড়বো? Okay, that was the question came in the mind of not only the researcher, that the questions came in the mind of the learners as well. Because we have said that next time in the first half of 20th century, many learners, they had diversified necessities of English language teaching. Not one necessity, that is to study Latin literature. আগে ছিল কি চতুর্দশ শতকে, 14th century, 15th century, they want to study Latin language just to read Latin literature. But in the first half of 20th century, in the second half of 19th century, their necessity was varied. Immigration, business, policy, higher education, okay, economics, and for this reason they had the determination what to read, how to read, whether we will be able to read, and in which way we will be reading to read. At other time, linguists and psychologists developed theories of philosophical and practical needs of English language teaching. Philosophical and practical needs. We know how to read, we know how to write, but we don't know how to speak. So speaking is the practical need of learning a language. If you can if anybody asks you, sir, what's your name, you will be writing here, my name is Salam, isn't it? So you have to tell, my name is Salam, or you may call me Salam, or you may call me Abdus Salam, in such a way. That means that is the practical need of English language teaching that came in the mind of the researcher learner. And for this, the philosophical and the practical needs of English language teaching. And this very linguist and psychologist in America proposed several reform in English language teaching. A repetition, next class, previous class, there is a necessity, and for this reason, linguists wanted to reform the methods and approaches. In 1940 decades, applied linguistics came up as a new field of English language thinking and approach. Applied linguistics, you have heard the name of applied physics and applied chemistry, theoretical physics and theoretical chemistry. But applied physics and applied chemistry, what is? But in case of language, applied physics means theoretical physics. That means you will be knowing the theory, E equal to mc square. That is the theory relating to Albert Einstein relativity theory. Yeah, that is the theoretical, if you describe the theory. But how you will be applying E equal to mc square in your practical field, that is the practical physics or applied physics, applied chemistry. You know the theory, but with the theory of chemistry, you have to produce medicine. You have to produce pure drinking water, purity, isn't it? That is the applied linguistics, applied chemistry. Previously, up to 1940 decades, we had the theoretical aspects of linguistics. In 1940 decades, we got another aspect, that is applied linguistics. That means you know the theory, that is var subject plus verb plus object, that is the structure of English sentence. It is the theory, but you have to use it in your daily conversation, in your daily writing. That is the applied linguistics. So in 1940 decades, linguistics got another field, that is applied linguistics, and that gave emphasis in the existence of the practical needs. That means we have to apply. If I say that yes, this is the steering of a car, okay, this is the steering, so if you pull the steering in such a way, the car will go right side. If you pull the steering in such a way, car will go left side. That is the brake pedal, that is the accelerator pedal. Accelerator pedal, if you push, it will go, brake pedal, that will stop, okay. That is the rear view mirror. So this is the theory of how to drive a car. But the practical fit, that means you have to apply. That is the applied driving certificates. Okay, so here, whenever applied linguistics, that means the idea of language or the language learning will be applied in your daily conversation, in your meeting, sitting, eating, gossiping, chatting, for higher study, everything. Various attempts came in the field of English language teaching, and that is in the 19th century, the late 19th century, linguists and languages especially try to understand how languages are learned by children. Okay, whenever there is a matter of applied linguistics, of course there will have some question. What is the linguist started to ask the question? Okay, we teach language in classroom, isn't it? We are teaching adults, but the children, they do not study language. How they learn their mother language? That is the question. The thought, that means that is the hypothesis. They started to think that if children can learn language naturally, why not the adult can learn language naturally? So the question started in such a way: how language is presented and organized in human brain or memory. Human brain is the preserver of everything, what you see. And just like the computer, there is a RAM, random access memory, and ROM, another memory, isn't it? So what you see, what you memorize, what you read, everything is preserved in human brain. So the question is started: how language is preserved? Okay, there is a portion, sensitive portion. Okay, if anybody touches in the sensitive portion of the brain, he or she will start laughing, হাসতে শুরু করবে। হাত দিয়েও যদি ব্রেন এক্সপোজ করার পরে, ব্রেন অপারেশন করার সময় কেউ যদি সেই জায়গাটাতে টাচ করে ডক্টররা, তাহলে কি উনি অজ্ঞান, কিন্তু তারপরে কি উনি হাসতে শুরু করছেন। আবার কিছু কিছু জায়গা আছে সেটাকে টাচ করলে উনি কাঁদতে শুরু করছেন। তার মানে ব্রেনের কিছু কিছু পোর্শন আছে যেগুলো হচ্ছে আপনার হলো লাভ সেন্সিটিভ অথবা হাসতে সাহায্য করে, কিছু কিছু জায়গাতে সেন্সিটিভের কারণে আপনাকে কাঁদতে সাহায্য করে, আপনাকে সবাইকে। তাহলে কিছু কিছু জায়গা আছে যেটা হলো যেখানে ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ সেন্সিটিভ, যেখানে ভাষা জমা থাকে এবং যেখানে ভাষা প্রডিউস হয়। ওকে, That such kind of question came in the discussion of English language teaching. How language is structured like human brain or memory. And in this regard, English phonologist, phoneticians and grammarian Henry Sweet, who was a specialist in the Germanic language, particularly Old English and Old Norse, published books of phonetics and grammar in English. We had a little bit discussion in previous class, phonetics and phonology. So this man Henry Sweet, the English linguist and grammarian, he come up with the idea of phonetics, and grammarian, and which have remained the influential, and a number of works continues to be in print and being used, of course, a text as college and universities. So this applied linguistics, in 1940 decades we have got another field in English language teaching. What was that? That was applied linguistics, and in this regard we have got another applied linguist. What is his name? Henry Sweet. Henry Sweet come up his idea about the phonetics and phonology. Okay, and we have got another applied linguistics, Otto Jespersen. Otto Jespersen is a specialist in grammar, Danish linguist. Okay, and he also came up with his idea. We have got another linguist. His name is English linguist Harold Palmer. Palmer, not Palmer. Palmer. Palmer, and he is the pioneer in the field of English language learning and teaching, and he dedicated himself to the oral method. We have said that applied linguistics. Before that we had got the theoretical linguistics. What is that? Reading and writing, how to read and how to write. But whenever we will be discussing the applied linguistic, then we have to talk about speaking or oral perspectives of language. This man Harold Palmer come up with this idea of oral method, and next time that idea became a method, that is the direct method. Don't forget that our today's topic is approaches and method. How we have got so many approaches and too many methods. We are getting the scenario how linguistics became applied linguistics. So these three phoneticians, or Otto Jespersen, Henry Sweet and Harold Palmer, they have come up with the idea of applied linguistics. Especially Harold Palmer come up with the idea of oral method. Okay, so in 1935 he was awarded D.Litt by Tokyo Imperial University. This is about Harold Palmer. And in 1937 he published 1000-word English with A.S. Hornby, Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, that you have got English to English dictionary. Okay, so this Harold Palmer also helped and edited that Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary. And during the Second World War he lived in England and assisted the war effort with his language skill, publishing 3 books later others. So this is about Harold Palmer. So these 3 linguists, who are they? Otto Jespersen, Henry Sweet and Harold Palmer. They developed principles and theories as to design the language teaching program, courses and course materials. Why? Because English linguistics is not in that perspective. In English linguistics, this subject has been now applied linguistics. Okay. They also tried to answer why materials developed by them are useful in English language teaching. Okay. In 1963, in this regard, American applied linguist Edward Anthony tried to find out the relation between the teaching theories and methods. With all this idea, with these 3 linguists, this Edward Anthony came up with this idea, and he made his presentation and definition of these 3 aspects: approach, methods and techniques. This Anthony, he identified 3 levels of conceptualization and organization of the linkage between language teaching theories and practice. And he first time coined these 3 terms: approaches, methods and techniques. Okay, approach. What is that? Approach means one week ago, okay, I played a song in the TV. Okay, that was my favorite song. Okay, at that time my two daughters are sitting aside and they have বললো যে বাবার এক্সপ্রেশনটা দেখো গানটা শোনার পরে, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য অ্যাপ্রোচ, হাউ কেউ কাউকে দেখলে যেরকম একটা অ্যাপ্রোচ মানে হলো দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি, একটা মনোভাব। ওকে, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য অ্যাপ্রোচ। আর মেথডের বাংলা কি? পদ্ধতি। কোন পদ্ধতিতে অ্যাপ্রোচ? ওকে, যদি আমরা বলি যে আমরা এখান থেকে ইয়েতে যাব, গুলিস্তান যাব, কিভাবে যাব? আমরা বললাম যে আপনি হেঁটেও যেতে পারেন, রিক্সাও যেতে পারেন, আবার কি প্রাইভেট কারেও যেতে পারেন। এগুলো হলো অ্যাপ্রোচ, সেখানে যাওয়া যায়। ওকে, আর মেথড হলো আপনি যে পদ্ধতিতে যাবেন। ওকে, সো অ্যাপ্রোচ a set of correlative assumption. Assumptions means ধারণা। Assumption মানে কি? ধারণা। Okay, dealing with the nature of language teaching and learning. Okay, so if you write the definition this line, that's okay, but you have to make developments. So a set of correlative assumption dealing with nature of language teaching and learning. An approach is axiomatic. Approach is like Proverbs. Proverbs ki morning shows the day, morning shows the day. Actually সকাল দেখেই দিনটা কেমন যাবে এটা কেউ কি অস্বীকার করতে পারে? সকাল দেখলেই আসলে বোঝা যায় যে আজকের দিনটা কেমন যাবে। সেরকম আমরা যদি বলি যে শিশুরা কিভাবে ভাষা শেখে, আমরা ধারণা করলাম যে সবাই হচ্ছে ভাষা শেখে হচ্ছে শিশুরা প্রথমত তারা শুনে ভাষা শেখে। তাহলে শুনে যে ভাষা শেখে এটা আপনার আমার কারো হচ্ছে কি করার, অস্বীকার করার কোনো উপায় নেই। তাহলে ভাষা শেখার একটা সর্বজন স্বীকৃত একটা ওয়ে হলো কি আমরা আগে শুনি তারপরে ভাষা শিখি। সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য অ্যাজাম্পশন। এটা কি? এটা আমরা কি ধারণা করেছি, কিন্তু ধারণা করার পরে এটা যে আমরা বলেছি এটা কিন্তু আমরা সবাই মেনে নিয়েছি। So that is approach. So approach is a correlative assumption relating language learning and teaching. It is axiomatic, that means it is admitted by all language learners and teachers, and it describes the nature of language to be taught. That is approach. Let's move on to, so approach, we have got the idea that we learn language by listening. Method of plan for the serial presentation of language teaching materials, a plan. Okay, so we have got the idea that language, we can learn language by listening. Okay, and method, what we will be dealing, how and in which way you can listen many words of the target language. That is, যদি শিখেই হচ্ছে ভাষা শেখা যায়, এটা আমরা ধরে নিলাম কি এটা একজেমেটিক। পাখি প্যারোটা হচ্ছে শুনে হচ্ছে ভাষা শেখে, তবে একটা ওয়ার্ড তাকে মিনিমাম 2000 থেকে 3000 বার যদি বলা হয় তাহলে সে শেখে। তাহলে আমরা ধরে নিলাম যে সবাই আমরা শুনে ভাষা শিখি। এখন মেথডটা কি? তাহলে বলছে যে আমি শোনাবো, তাহলে যত বেশি আমরা শোনাবো তত বেশি ভাষা শিখবে, যত বেশি লিসেনিং হবে তত বেশি ভাষা শিখবে। ওকে, সো লিসেনিং উইল বি দ্য ইনপুট অফ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ লার্নিং। ইন কেস অফ children listen from their parents, children listen from their sisters, brothers and dear and near ones surrounding him or her. Okay, that is the approach. We admit that we learn by listening, we learn language by listening, we learn language by reading. Okay, so this is approach. Then method is you have to make children listen as many words of the target language as it can. That is the method. And language teaching materials will not contradict with each other. Different set of language teaching materials are for different approaches. Method is procedural means procedural naki procedural means a systematic way how you can make children listen so many words of the target language. That is the method. Next move on to technique. তাহলে আমরা প্রথমত ধরলাম যে ভাষা শুনেই শেখা যায়, এই যে একটা আইডিয়া, সেটা হলো অ্যাপ্রোচ। এরপরে আমরা বলছি যে মেথডটা কি, যত বেশি আমরা ভাষা শেখাতে পারবো, আমরা শোনাবো, সেটাই হবে। এবং টেকনিক কি, এখন ভাষা কি অনেকভাবে শোনা যায়। কেউ হচ্ছে মুভি দেখে শুনতে পারে, কেউ হচ্ছে অডিও সং শুনতে পারে, কেউ হচ্ছে টার্গেট ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ নিউজ শুনতে পারে, কেউ হচ্ছে টার্গেট ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের কনভারসেশন শুনতে পারে। ওকে, আপনি বললেন যে আমি শিক্ষার্থীদের টার্গেট ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজে কনভারসেশন শোনাবো। ওকে, তাহলে আপনি ক্লাসরুমে কি করছেন? কনভারসেশন শোনাচ্ছেন। কাদের? শিক্ষার্থীদের। তাহলে আপনি ক্লাসরুমে মুভি দেখাচ্ছেন না, তারপরে গান শোনাচ্ছেন না, ডায়লগ করাচ্ছেন না। ওকে, আপনি কি করাচ্ছেন? কনভারসেশন। সো কনভারসেশন ইজ দ্য টেকনিক through which you are presenting the method. So implementation keys which take place in the classroom, that is the technique. So a particular trick, stratagem or contrivance used to accomplish language learning, that is called technique. Technique will be consistent to method. Therefore approach, method and technique, they are relational. So approach is theory, approach is assumption, approach is hypothesis, অনুমান, method is a system, and technique is the implementation key. Okay, these are the three parts or three techniques or three things relating each other in English language teaching. Up to this, any questions? Yes.
Is there any difference between strategy and technique?
Same. Strategy, kaushal, technique, kaushal. Same. Stratagem. Many words are there. Trick, stratagem, technique. These are the similar words. Okay. So this is about approach, method and technique. Example, everybody learn language by listening. Method, listening music will help language learning. That is the method. Okay, and technique, play music in the classroom. That is the linkages between approach, methods and technique. Okay, so approach, you can have another definition of approach, that approach is a level at which assumption and beliefs of language and language learning are specified. That is the approach. Okay, a method is the level at which theory is put into practice. You can add, so after getting the idea of this idea, that is a good idea. That is, method is the level at which theory is put into practice, and at which choices are made about a particular skill to be taught, content to be taught, and the order in which the content will be presented. Technique is the level at which classroom procedures are described. Okay, so Antonius' model serves the clear distinction between theories, practices and language teaching. And language teaching reform movement, that is the approach. Whenever previously we had grammar translation method, that is the oldest traditional method. Next time linguistics said that we have to reform language teaching. That is the approach. That means the grammar translation methods cannot fulfill the demands of the learners and the students, so we have to reform. So what is this? This is the approach. That is the Drishtibhangi. Okay, that is the theory. That is the reform movement. And direct method derived from the approach. So whenever we had a desire that we have to change our lifestyle, and after that we have changed the lifestyle. In which way? Approach, we have to change the English teaching and learning method, and we have got a new method, that is the direct method. Okay, and classroom activities, that is the technique. Direct method, in case of GTM, Bengali language can be used in the classroom. But in direct method, that is direct. No Bengali words will be used in the classroom. Okay, everything, every word and everything will be presented in the classroom, that is in the target language. So that is the classroom activities. So that is techniques. And other proposals for language teaching reforms, Canadian linguist William Francis Mackey, in his book Language Teaching Analysis, mentions that language teaching on the dimension of selection, gradation, presentation and repetition in a method. So next time this method help these other things. Mackey's model fails to address the level of approach and address the actual classroom behavior of the teachers and the learners. Okay, actually in such a way the approach and methods, after getting the idea of approach, method and techniques, other linguists like Mackey, they came up with their proposal. But in Mackey's proposal, he didn't mention what would be the role of learners and what would be the role of the teachers in the classroom. So in that case, method will have some steps. What are the steps? Let's move on. Okay. So previously Anthony tried to simplify the language teaching theoretical principles and practices, but nothing was said about the role of teachers, learners and assumed in a method. Actually, Anthony in 1963, he made the definition of these three terms, that is approach, methods and so what will be there in method? He didn't mention. Especially he didn't mention what would be the role of the teachers and the learner in a classroom. Okay, he didn't mention. No instructional materials are there. So in a method, teacher's role will be there, learner's role will be there, and also instructional materials will be there. Okay, method, we have to teach language following a method. What is the method? The listening will be helping the learners. So not only the music cannot be the one way. What would be the instruction materials, other materials, what would be there? Okay, how an approach may be realized in a method, how methods and technique are related, and Anthony's model didn't answer this question. So in such a way, the idea of English language teaching developed through the principles of approaches, methods and techniques. Okay, so in every methods, these things will be, approach and method can be called the level of design. Approach will be implemented by method, but in a method we will have some components. What would be the components? Every method will have some objectives. In case of GTM, grammar translation methods, what is the objective? Objective will be that grammar translation method will make you efficient in reading and writing. That is the objectives of grammar translation method. Direct method, what would be the objectives of direct method? They will make it efficient in speaking and listening. Okay, that is their objectives. Okay, and syllabus of course will be there in a method, of course syllabus. So in case of direct method, syllabus will be different. In case of GTM, syllabus will be different. And communicative language teaching, there will be another syllabus as we are following at present in Bangladesh. Okay, so in every method we will have different syllabus, different objectives and also different content. Role of teachers, in case of in GTM, okay, আগে ক্লাসরুমে শিক্ষকদের প্রশ্ন করা অনেক বড় সাহসের ব্যাপার ছিল। প্রশ্ন করলে এত প্রশ্ন করো বসো, হ্যাঁ, এটা হলো আসলে জিটিএম এ টিচার্স রোল। টিচার্স রোল হলো ইন কেস অফ জিটিএম, টিচার উইল বি ডেলিভারিং দ্য লেকচার্স ওয়ান আফটার অ্যানাদার অ্যান্ড দ্য টিচার্স উইল স্টার্ট, স্টুডেন্ট উইল স্টার্ট স্লিপিং। আগে তো ঘুমাতো, এখন ঘুমায় না এখন। ওকে, এটা হলো জিটিএম এ টিচার্স রোল। বাট CLT, the teacher's role, that would be interactive. Okay, every questions will be encouraged. Okay, and for this reason I have said that you will make me so many questions. Okay, at present scenario has been changed. So that is the teacher's role in communicative language teacher. In case of direct method, teacher. In case of audio lingualism, teacher should be the native language speaker. Bangladeshi teacherরা এই audio lingualism পড়াতে পারবে না. That is the teacher's role in audio lingualism. So in every method there would be objectives, syllabus and also content, teacher's role, learner's role. Yeah, that is very fantastic. Learner's role abar ki class e asbo পড়া করব চলে যাব, এটা তো learner. No, in case of method there are different learner's role. And the instruction materials, can be specified in approach and methods. Okay, so this is the approach and design. This is collected from the book Approach and Method, written by Richard and Rogers. Okay, most probably many of you have got this book. No, not yet. So I will be sending you the soft copy. So this is the image of this book that we will be getting in the last portion of the first chapter, that is Approach and Methods. In the book, this one, Approaches and Methods in English Language Teaching by Richard and Rogers. Okay, so there you will say that approach, a theory of the nature of language. Can you see? And a theory of the nature of language learning. Okay, an account of the psycholinguistics and the cognitive process involved in language learning. Design, method, the general and the specific objectives of a method, and procedure, classroom techniques, classroom practices, behaviors observed when the method is used. So that is the techniques. So approach, methods and techniques will be there. Okay, and we can continue a little bit. So approach, if we analyze Anthony's idea, we will see that approach refers to the theories of language. Okay, that is the assumption, hypothesis. And language teaching that serve as the source, practices and principles in language teaching and learning. In turn, we will be examining the linguistics and psychological approach. Okay, theory তো অনেক ধরনের হতে পারে। ওকে, দুই ধরনের থিওরি হতে পারে। থিওরি ক্যান বি লিঙ্গুইস্টিক্স অ্যান্ড সাইকোলিঙ্গুইস্টিক্স, মনো ভাষা বিজ্ঞান যেটা। ওকে, সো দিস আর দ্য অ্যাপ্রোচ ইন কেস অফ থিওরি অফ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। ইন কেস অফ ফার্স্ট টাইম linguistics, linguistic approach, linguistics theory. In case of linguistics theory, every language will have this structural view. How many languages are there in this world? 7,000, প্রায় 6,999। তাহলে এই যে 7,000 ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ, প্রত্যেকটা ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজেরই দুইটা থিওরি আছে। একটা হলো কি স্ট্রাকচারাল ভিউ, আর একটা আছে হলো লিঙ্গুইস্টিক্স ভিউ। স্ট্রাকচারাল ভিউ এর মধ্যে 7,000 ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের জন্য এটা অ্যাপ্লিকেবল। ফর দিস 700 ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ দিস ইজ অ্যাপ্লিকেবল, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য স্ট্রাকচারাল ভিউ। ইন কেস অফ linguistics approach, that means linguistics theory, that would be structural view, functional view and interactional view. Language will have several views. Language দিয়ে আমরা কি করি? ভাত রান্না করে খাবো না কি করবো? Okay, so there is some motives. What are the views? There, every language will have some structure, every language will have some function. What is the function of language? What is the function of sign language? To the sign language, what is the function of other things? Everything will have the function. So the functional view and the interactional view. Okay, so in this structural view, that every language will have the structure. Every language. In case of Bangla, ami bhat khai. English, in case of English, we eat rice. So in case of English, subject, verb, object, and in case of Bangla, ki ami bhat khai. এই খাইটা ভার্বটা যাচ্ছে পরে, তার আগে অবজেক্ট আসতেছে। তাহলে বাংলা ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের স্ট্রাকচার হলো সাবজেক্ট, অবজেক্ট, ভার্ব। আর ইংলিশ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের, সো এভরি ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ, ইন কেস অফ বাংলা and English you have got a structure in such a way, every language will have some structure. That is the structural view of language, every language. And if anybody wants to be mastered in a language, he or she has to be efficient in the structural view of that language. We have to know. And these elements are called phonological units, grammatical units, that means grammatical operation, grammatical lexical units like function, words and the other things. Okay, that is the structural view. Phoneme, you know that the single point or part, specific part of a word or of a sentence. That is tab, tag. So these are the phonemes. So you know the examples of phonemes. There are some function words will be there. There are some structural words of English language teaching like that. Okay, and that is the next time we have got the functional view. We have got these two principles. First time in every language theory will be two types: structural view and linguistics view and psycholinguistics view. In structural view, we have three approaches. That is the structural view, functional view, and interactional view. The structural view we have got. This is the functional view. Functional view, that without meaning, effective language cannot be established. So every language. So language is the vehicle for expression. ওকে, একজন চোরকে অনেক মারা হচ্ছে আর চোর হাসতেছে। অনেক মারতে মারতে যিনি মারছেন তিনি ক্লান্ত হয়ে গেছে। ক্লান্ত হয়ে তাকে জিজ্ঞাসা করছে, কি ব্যাপার, আমি যে তোমাকে এত মারতেছি তুমি হাসতেছো কেন? বলে, বাবা আমার কান্নাটাই এরকম, আমি আসলে কাঁদতেছি। তাহলে ভাষার তো একটা কাজ আছে, ফাংশন আছে, সেটা কি? ভাষাকে বলা হচ্ছে ভেহিকেল ফর দ্য এক্সপ্রেশন অফ মিনিং। আপনি যেটা বোঝাতে চাচ্ছেন সেটা আপনি কি করবেন? ভাষার মাধ্যমে বোঝাতে হবে। সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ফাংশনাল ভিউ অফ আ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। সো কমিউনিকেটিভ মুভমেন্ট অফ আ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ইনক্লুডেড ইন দিস ভিউ। ওকে, সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ফাংশনাল ভিউ। অ্যান্ড নোশনাল syllabuses, that is Wilkins notional syllabuses is the examples of functional view of a language. When you will be sorry, you will say, oh, I am very sorry, I was very shocked to hear the death of your dear and near ones. Okay, pay homage to the departed soul. That is the expression that you are in sad. Okay, so when you are, oh wow, how gorgeous, how fantastic, I hope you will have a fantastic day in Switzerland. So that is the expression. যখন আপনি হ্যাপি তখন আপনি ভাষা দিয়েই বোঝাচ্ছেন যে সেটা আপনি হ্যাপি। ওকে, যখন আপনি চান, oh I feel tired, I feel sleepy, someone making a phone call in the TNT phone, I was not in a position to answer the phone. আপনার হাতের কাছে ফোন পড়ে আছে, আপনি এত টায়ার্ড যে আপনি কি ফোন ধরতে পারছেন না। তার মানে আপনার যখন কোনো কিছু করার ফাংশন, আপনার মনের দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি প্রকাশ করা, সব কিছু প্রকাশ পাচ্ছে কার দিক দিয়ে? আপনার হলো ভাষা দিয়ে। সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ফাংশনাল ভিউ অফ আ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। ওকে, সো অ্যান্ড অ্যাকচুয়ালি দেয়ার ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ফর স্পেসিফিক পারপাজেস can be an example of the functional view of language. And the semantics, actually the study of meaning of language, that is also the functional view. And the third one, that is the interactional view. Remember that we are in the linguistics theory, that is the psycholinguistics aspects we are now discussing. So interactional view, it sees language as the vehicle for the realization of interpersonal relation, for the performance of social transaction between individuals. Social transaction, so interactional view and functional view quite similar. Okay, but function, that is, but interactional view, how you will be interacted with the people of other societies and culture. Okay, what is a taboo in other culture that can be appreciated by in a specific culture. Okay, so interaction can not only be happening with students to student, with learner to learners, but interaction can be happen from one society to another society. Interaction, that is international communication or the social interaction, that is function. Every language দিয়ে আমরা ভাষা প্রকাশ করি, এটাই ফাংশনাল ভিউ। আর ইন্টারাকশন শুধুমাত্র আপনি আপনার বন্ধু বান্ধবের সাথে যে ইন্টারাকশন করছেন তা না, একজন ফরেনারের সাথে তো আপনাকে ইন্টারাকশন করতে হবে। সো এটাও যখন আপনি ভাষার মধ্য দিয়ে করবেন তখন সেই দেশের কাস্টম কালচার আপনাকে জানতে হবে। ওকে, কোনো দেশে হচ্ছে কথা বলার সময় বা বিদায় নেওয়ার সময় গালে গাল ঠেকিয়ে হচ্ছে কি করে, ইন্টারেক্ট করে, হ্যাঁ এইভাবে। আবার কোনো দেশে হচ্ছে হ্যান্ডশেক, কোনো দেশে হ্যান্ডশেক করবে, আবার কি করবে, এরকম করে থাপড় দিবে আর কি, প্রতিটা কথায় একটা করে থাপড় দিবে দেখবে কিছু জায়গায়। হ্যাঁ, এটা হচ্ছে তাদের কালচার। সো হাউ ইউ উইল বি ইন্টারেক্টিং। কথা বলছে ঠিক আছে, আরে বাবা অনেকে কথা বলছে আর কি করছে, ফোনে কথা বলছে, তারপরে বলছে হ্যাঁ আমি ওই যে ওখানে গিয়েছিলাম না, ওখানে অপেক্ষা করছিলাম, তারপরে এটা কিনলাম ওটা কিনলাম, আর তোমার সামনে তো নাই, কিন্তু তারপরে কি, ওটা তাদের একটা হ্যাবিট হয়ে গেছে। ওকে, সো ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ইজ সিন অ্যাজ এ টুল অফ ক্রিয়েশন অ্যান্ড মেইনটেনেন্স অফ সোশ্যাল রিলেশন। ওকে, সো ইন্টারাকশনাল। সো হাউ ইউ উইল বি ইন কেস অফ, যদি এখানে এরকম করে বসে থাকি আমি, অনেকে মনে করবে যে না ঠিক আছে আমাদের থেকে স্যার সিনিয়র, কিন্তু উনি তো আমার সিনিয়র, উনি মনে করবেন যে বয়সে বড়, স্যার এরকম ভাবে বসে আছেন পায়ে পা তুলে। অন্য দেশে কোনো কিছু সমস্যা নাই, কিন্তু আমাদের দেশে এটা হলো একটা সোশ্যাল স্ট্রাকচার, সোশ্যাল ইন্টারাকশন, হাউ ইউ উইল বি ইন্টারেক্টিং উইথ আদার্স। ওকে, in some European countries you will see that they are putting their legs on the table. Their professor has come forward, but is still there. putting that. This is relax. That is the norms. Okay. So communication not only be presenting communicative speeches with your friends and families and others. So you have to have the social communication or social interaction. So that is the interaction analysis and conversation analysis, negotiation analysis, patterns of moves, acts, interaction, ethno methodology are included in this view. তাহলে কি থাকবে ইন্টারেকশন ভি এর মধ্যে কি থাকছে নেগোসিয়েশন অ্যানালিসিস প্যাটার্নস অফ মুভস অ্যান্ড অ্যাক্টস অ্যান্ড অলসো ইন্টারাকশন অ্যান্ড methodology সেটা কি the study of common sense knowledge that people use to understand the social or the socio-linguistic situation in which they are find themselves. Okay, so আমরা বাংলাদেশে পান্তা ইলিশ খাই, এখন আপনি আমেরিকাতে কি পান্তা ইলিশ পাবেন? কারণ তারা তো ভাতই খায় না। হ্যাঁ, সো তাহলে প্রত্যেকটা দেশ এবং জাতিসত্তার একটা নিজস্ব পরিচিতি বা স্টাইল আছে, সেই সম্পর্কে যে জানাটা সেটাই হলো কি এথনো methodology. So if you understand the ethno methodology of a language, you can communicate in any societies of this world. Okay. Previously, I have got information in a social media that he did. So, is there anybody outside near about the Arkansas? I have to go over there. I know the weather, fooding habit, and something else. উনি একটা ফেসবুকে মেসেজ দিয়েছেন, উনি ওখানে যেতে চাচ্ছেন। উনি কি করছেন, ওই এলাকার আবহাওয়া কি, ওখানে ফুডিং হ্যাবিট কি, বাংলাদেশি আছে কিনা, সব কিছু জানতে চাচ্ছেন। কেন? দ্যাট ইজ সেই আইডিয়া নিয়ে গেলে উনি ওখানে ইন্টারাক্ট করতে পারবেন। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য এথনো methodology in English language teaching or any language teaching. Okay, so that is ethno methodology. Interaction. Okay, interaction, that means interactive view. Interaction has been the central language learning. Okay, so interaction, there is a good definition of interaction. What is interaction? A student achieve facility in using a language when their attention is focused on conveying and receiving authentic messages. Convey মানে কি দেওয়া, and receiving মানে কি গ্রহণ করা। আপনি বলেন হ্যালো দিস ইজ সালাম, সালাম ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম, না 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 আমি সালাম দেই নাই, আমার নাম সালাম। ওকে, তার মানে কি আপনি একটা বললেন, তারপর সরি আই কান্ট হিয়ার ইউ, উড ইউ প্লিজ রিপিট হু আর ইউ, ইউ ক্যান সে ও দিস ইজ সালাম SALAM। হ্যাঁ, মানে খেপে গেছে আর কি, খেপে গিয়ে সে নামে বানান করে দিল আর কি। সো এই যে যদি আমার যে কথা বলছি সেটা হলো উনি বুঝতেই পারছেন না, এবং উনি যেটা বলতেছেন ওটা আমি বুঝতে পারছি না, এটা যদি হয় তাহলে সেটা ইন্টারাকশন হবে না। ইন্টারাকশন হবে কনভেইং অ্যান্ড রিসিভিং অথেন্টিক messages. That is interaction. So authentic messages. So in that case we have got another আমরা একটার সময় নিব ব্রেক নেব, হ্যাঁ সরি 12টার সময়। In that case language teaching and learning through interactivity is linked to the teaching of reading, writing, speaking and listening skill. Carroll, Devine and Sky observe this notion of interactivity can be achieved by both of the top-down and bottom-down processing of reading comprehension. We have got another linguist, Australian linguist Wilga Mary Rivers. He has come up with the idea of language teaching. Rivers was best known for her work in the field of foreign language acquisition, pedagogy, audiolingualism and psychology. So these linguists have come up with this idea of his aspects. So text-based language teaching, whole language teaching, neuro-linguistics programming, cooperative language learning and content-based instruction are derived from the type of language learning through interactivity. So we have structural view, functional view and interactive view of language. And with this linguistics theory, actually the interactivity, that methods, what are the methods? These are the methods: task-based language teaching, whole language, neuro-linguistics. These methods are derived from the theory. Which theory? That is the linguistics theory. Okay, that is the interactional view. So from the theory, a method is derived. Okay, that is the relation between language, approach, methods and techniques. So theory is the assumption, method is the set of procedures, and technique is the classroom activities. Okay, so you will have any questions? So you will have 15 minutes break.